Alright, welcome to another draft through MTGSpeculation.com. Doing some Legacy Cube here. This pack is very weak overall. There are good mono red cards. Rebel Master is pretty great. Active Aggression is another good mono red card. I have Watery Grave, City of Brass, Sun Titan. I don't like white that much. Mono red does dominate this cube. And this seems like one of the opening packs where I'm probably heavily incentivized to go into mono red, which I don't generally like to do. So I'm going to take Rabble Master here. I think it's just the best pick. Puts me in the one of the best archetypes in the format. Not happy to do so. Never really am. Okay, well, there's not a great mono red card here, but there is Kiki Jiki. There's a Searing Spear if I do want to be mono red. I think I can pass that and get a better feel for whether or not it's open. Kiki and Glenelendra are two of the more powerful cards in the cube, just overall. Kiki does have combos with other stuff. Glenelendra, I think, in a vacuum is more powerful than Kiki Jiki. I'm already in red a little bit. The fixing's not great in this format, which is another reason that I don't like Kiki as much. Searing Spear should wheel if I do still end up wanting to be mono red. I think the upside on Kiki is higher. It keeps me in one color. Glenelendra is much better. I've outs to other archetypes. Kiki though. Splinter Twin Kiki is still just one of the better archetypes in the format. So Brimstone Volley is a nice burn spell. Ashmore Gouger is another good mono red spell. And again, there's not much else here. I mean, Armageddon isn't good outside of mono white in this format because there's not much artifact mana. Force Spike isn't a reason to switch. Ashmore Gouger will wheel, so I'm just going to take Brimstone Volley. Here, again, there's no reason to go into anything else. It looks like I'm most likely... Well, I mean, Frenzied Goblin isn't a great mono red card either. I can start looking at red-blue. I don't have any like the hyper-aggressive cards yet. If I were to be mono red, I could take Outpost Siege. It's pretty reasonable in blue-red. Yeah, Outpost Siege. Imperial Recruiter again is good in blue-red. I'm starting to look much more like a blue-red deck because this finds me Kiki and Pestermite, and finds me Kiki, Pestermite, and Deceiver. There's a Dissipate, Stratus Dancer, Stoke the Flames. Yep, we're just gonna take Imperial Recruiter. We're in on red. It looks like the aggressive red cards are being taken, or they just haven't been opened. Okay, well, this changes that. There's Swift Spear. Not as good and limited as it is in Constructed. I'd much rather have a Goblin Guide. Exquisite Firecraft is very good, but that could wheel. I'm just going to take the Swift Spear. Try to stay open to mono red. Like, mono red's the type of archetype where if it's open, you can get a full deck in 2 packs. Alright, so War Leader's Helix, Threads of Disloyalty is double blue. Again, I haven't seen a great reason to go into blue outside of Glenelendra, and that was pack 2, or pick 2, sorry. So I'm going to take Rift Bolt. We might just be mono red here, without much of a curve so far. Okay, here there's stone cold nothing for us. This is like, these are all mean, these are reanimate cards. Reanimate cards. Emrakul is more of a sneak show type target. I could still end up with a show and tell deck, but I don't really like that archetype. And right now, my deck really only supports mono red. Guess I'll just take Stem Legion. Okay, Active Aggression came back. I don't really have any interest in trying to go into like red-black aggressive stuff, so I'll take Active Aggression. It's a way to steal games. It's getting to the point where I have less and less outs to be red-blue. So like Kiki could be out, Outpost Siege could be out, Imperial Recruiter could be out, and basically I got 5 mono red cards in this pack. Needless to say, this draft has not gone well. Our first 2 or 3 packs were overall fairly weak. It was where we really could have done something different than what we've done so far. Okay, so Domri Raid. I'm not even that creature heavy yet if I wanted to switch. I could take Necrotol as an out to be sort of red-black bad stuff. I mean, that's really it. I'm just going to take Necrotol. Again, this has not gone well. Nothing good has been particularly open. I'll take Ashenmoor Gouger. We still have a lot of 3s. Anger, I guess. Probably just gonna make sure Mannequin 8 on it. Cursed Scroll, Ranger. So mono white looks more open than mono red. Active Aggression did wheel though, and there wasn't another good mono red card in that pack, so it's possible that it was just a weak pack overall for mono red. So I'm still hopeful that we can end up with a solid deck here. I mean, our 3s are good. Active Aggression is kind of a 3 as well, and then we sort of had these other garbage cards for mono red. So here, I mean, Resto's good, Dragonlord Ojutai's good, Raphalos. Like, this is the type of pack you want to open. Oops, I'm not taking Raphalos. That would have been bad. We also have Sarkin, Greater Gargadon. Again, not quite as good. I'm probably just taking Sarkin. We have not had good opens, or a good sequence of packs for what we're trying to do. I could take the Factory. That'll probably come back though. Stormbreath, we might be like a little bit slower of a red deck, which isn't usually a good place to be. See Jiraga. See, if this had been our open, we'd be on Raphalos Jiraga, which would be fantastic. Just a fantastic start. I think green does some of the more broken things in this cube, especially when you get Jiraga and Raphalos. And then Reanimator's the other broken strategy that's really left since all the artifact mana is gone, basically. So we're probably on Stormbreath or Banefire. Stormbreath almost always wheels, so I'm just going to take Banefire. It might just be a slower red deck. Chandra should wheel. Take Boros Reckoner here. A couple Reanimator enablers. Genesis Hydra is good with Jiraga and Raphalos. Fauna Shaman's another Reanimate enabler. We'll take Reckoner here. We really need earlier drops. This is getting a little bit ridiculous. It's just starting to look like mono red is being drafted by somebody else. This is such a bad run of cards that I can't imagine it's open at all. To target creature you don't control, that's just not really what you want in mono red. Maybe I'm just a grindier version. I'm going to have to bring in the black. If I bring in the black, then Go for the Throat's just better than Mizium Mortars. So Burst Lightning's good. Hymn to Torok. I don't have any fixing yet, but That is one way for this bad red-black deck to get there. Oh, let me go for it. At this point, I need to get something working for us. Sunring Titan, Bloodbraid Elf, Spell Pierce, Stagger Shock. Just most likely run Stagger Shock here. We still might not run the black, but okay, Char's fine. Inferno Titan's also good. I mean, we're a little bit slower. Ugh, this is going so poorly. I'm just gonna take Char. Sneak attack. Cliff top retreat. It looks like the monocolor deck that was open was actually just mono white. I mean, look how much is left here. I guess 2 power or less. I guess I take Mentor the Meek. So we'll take Factory here. Could take Phyrexian Arena. I mean, maybe I'm just red-black. Still, when you're still waffling at this point in the draft, it's never good. Storm Breath. Here. Let's take Una's Prowler. Our curve starts at 3 in a deck that wants to be aggressive. Needless to say, I'm not happy with how this draft is going. I mean, we're on Precursor Golem. Kind of a sweet combo with Kiki. To get an army of 3/3s. We are in a strange place with this draft. A very strange place. If I were just mono red, my deck is so incredibly bad. A lot of people force mono red in this format though, which is another reason why I don't like drafting it. It's just that you can get the early cards and there's no guarantee that it's going to be relatively open because people will just go all in on it. Which means me and that person probably both have bad decks. Basically, I'm just hoping that like the Stromkirk Noble and Goblin Guide type cards are going to be in this pack, and I just pick up 7 or 8 1 and 2 drops in the next pack, and then my deck's great. That's the thing. This deck is so dependent on the 1 and 2 drops, which there aren't that many of. Take Gatekeeper. And like our mana's terrible with this too. Like our mana's just abysmal. Alright. Fiery Confluence is good. We have Jackal Pup. We need 1 drops, so I'm just going to hope that Fiery Confluence wheels. We are very much so all in at this point. Treachery. Our opens in these 2 packs have been so much better. I would have taken Lotus Cobra, Treachery, Bloodstained Mire, all over Goblin Rabblemaster, I think. So we'll go for it. We're going to try to be mono red, just because our mana for this other terrible deck is not. Okay, Goblin Bushwhacker. That's a reasonable card. Ancient Tomb, Grafted Wargear is also a nice card. I think I'm going to give this a chance to wheel. Although Bushwhacker might be more likely to wheel. And now we have 2 1-drops. And this isn't a great one. It's a good one though. And there's an Incinerate. And I have a lot of 3-drops. I'm just going to take up. The Chandra in the last pack also didn't wheel, which is a terrible sign for us. Krenko's Command, I guess. Goblin Guide. Okay, so we're getting there a little bit. This deck is still terrible, but and I still need a lot of help. I need that Incinerate to wheel. I need multiple 2-drops. My 3-drop slot is good. I mean, you take out the Imperial Recruiter and you look at everything else and it's fine. Okay, Lavamancer. We might still be getting there. Not a whole lot else in this pack. Face Fenner's good. The rest of this is pretty medium though. Even Face Fenner is pretty medium. Not a good pack. I mean, Grim Lavamancer is probably just the best card in this pack on raw power level. So it's nice that it's in our colors. We've gotten paid off a little bit this pack for sticking in what is a fairly linear archetype here. We're at 5 1-drops now, which I feel a lot better about that. The nice thing about the Blacker as well is it can serve as a 2-drop. So maybe my curve's a little bit more like this, which isn't nearly as bad. I do have some nice burn. I have a couple nice finishers. Kiki's probably out. Twin. That's kind of funny. Okay, Firefist Shrieker. Okay, I mean that's a 2-drop. I think Porcelain Legionnaire is just better though. But yeah, there's a twin here. We just never saw really any blue. We do have the Kiki, but... So Porcelain Legionnaire gives us another 2-drop. Our curve's starting to look better. It's still not great. Outpost Siege. Probably going to make the cut. Okay. So we're getting there. Lockset and Warhammer's great. But it's a little bit too slow for this deck. Just take Gorehouse. Alright. 4 1-drops, 4 2-drops. A bunch of 3-drops. Riftbolt is kind of a 1-drop. You know, we have 1, 2, 3... 4 burn spells. For reach, we have Outpost Siege, which gives us a little bit of longevity, and Active Aggression is also sort of a burn spell. Sarkin and Stormbreath are both kind of burn spells as well. So maybe we're getting there. Chandra. That's pretty great to wheel here. Or I mean to get last pick. Of that pack. So alright, Chandra, she'll make the deck. This is probably a 17 lander. Just because I do have 4 5s, although I guess it can be a 3, and maybe Precursor Golem is out. I think with 2 5-drops, I have to run 17 lands. Bloodstained Mire can just thin for me. I think I'll actually end up running it too. It's a pretty minor effect, but if it's your first land, I mean, it does thin your deck out quite a bit. Okay, so this is probably the deck right here. That's 23, and a Bloodstained Mire with a decent curve. You know, there's enough reach. Yeah, Mono White was very open. And it seems like Mono Red actually ended up being open. I don't know that it was initially, but it certainly seems to be so now. I think here we get more annoyed by things like Carrier Thrall. Chameleon Colossus is annoying for us though, so I'll just hate on him. Here, we'll take Plateau. Alright, so we got there. It was a little bit scary on the way. Again, I'm not very experienced drafting the mono red deck. I don't know if that's typical of drafting the archetype. I feel like it's not. But we got there. Usually I feel like if it's completely open, you end up with like 32, 33 playables. That's how most of the archetypes, you know, when they're open, since there's so many good cards in the cube that you usually end up with a lot of playables if you're in open colors. The monocolor decks, maybe not as much, but I've drafted enough White Weenie in the past to know that usually you end up with like 30, 32 playables. And we're on, I mean, we're playing a couple fringe playables here in Outpost Siege and Precursor Golem. But yeah, I think we run 17 lands because we have 3/5 drops and a Banefire. We have Outpost Siege. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Our curve ends up being something a little bit more along the lines of, I think Banefire is probably going to end up being, remove a creature, like an early creature. You start with a curve that's a little bit more like this. Like that, maybe. That's not bad. Yeah, we're not running. This puts me on 17. We'll go ahead and run this. And we'll see how it goes. Gonna take a quick screenshot and I'll see you guys in round 1.